you don't stop staring at his mouth, Declan, I'm going to lose my mind. I froze halfway through pouring coffee, the voice cutting through my skull like a blade I didn't ask for and couldn't dull. My hand trembled. The carafe nearly slipped. The problem? Declan Ashford, CEO, Alpha, and the human equivalent of a glacier, hadn't said a word. His mouth hadn't moved. His steel gray eyes hadn't even flickered in my direction. But I'd heard him anyway. My name is Elliot Thorne, and 3 months ago, I woke up in a Seattle hospital with a concussion, a bruised spine, and a brand new party trick I never wanted. I can hear people's thoughts. Not all people, just alphas. And not all the time, thank God, because that would have turned my brain into a 24/7 radio station of horny chaos. No, it only happens when I'm close. When their scent hits, when their emotions spike, when their wolves wake up. It started small. A passing alpha at a coffee shop thinking about his grocery list. A jogger in the park whose wolf was grumbling about needing a run. Annoying, sure, but manageable. Then I got hired as the executive assistant to the Ashford Triplets, and my life became a waking nightmare, wrapped in expensive cologne, and 3 devastatingly cold faces I couldn't stop hearing. Declan, Carson, and Hayes Ashford ran Ashford Industries like a fortress. No emotion, no weakness, no warmth. They were infamous in the Seattle business world. Triplet alpha CEOs who'd built an empire before they turned 30, each one brilliant and ruthless in their own terrifying way. Declan, the oldest by 11 minutes, was the face of the company. Controlled, commanding. The kind of alpha who could freeze a boardroom with a single glance. Carson, the middle one, was the strategist. Sharp-eyed and calculating, always 3 steps ahead, always watching like he could see through your soul. Hayes, the youngest, was the enforcer. Quiet, intense. The kind of alpha whose silence felt heavier than anyone else's voice. They were beautiful in that untouchable, heartbreaking way that made omegas stupid. And I was trying so hard not to be stupid. Elliot, Declan's actual voice, the one that came out of his mouth, was smooth and cold, like frost sliding over glass. I blinked, forcing myself back into the present, and finished pouring his coffee without spilling it everywhere. Yes, sir? I kept my tone light, professional, unbothered. He didn't look up from his tablet. The quarterly reports, man, I need them by noon. Already on your desk, I said, setting the coffee in front of him. Organized by division, color-coded, and cross-referenced with last year's numbers. You're welcome. Carson, seated across the conference table, let out the faintest sound, almost a laugh. Almost. He's sharper than the last 5 we went through. Carson's thought drifted into my head, smooth and detached. Shame he smells like honey and something I shouldn't be thinking about during a meeting. I nearly choked on air. Hayes, standing by the window with his arms crossed, didn't move, didn't blink, but his voice, silent, dangerous, and devastatingly clear, rolled through my mind like distant thunder. If he bites his lip one more time, I'm going to do something we'll all regret. I bit my lip, harder, on purpose. Because I'm an idiot with a death wish and a talent for self-sabotage. The thing about hearing someone's thoughts is that it ruins everything. You can't unsee the cracks. You can't pretend they're just cold, untouchable alphas doing alpha things when you know their wolves are pacing, growling, aching beneath all that control. Declan wanted to trace the curve of my jaw with his thumb. Carson wanted to know what I tasted like. Hayes wanted to pin me against the wall and make me stop smiling like I didn't know exactly what I was doing to them. And the worst part? I did know. I knew and I loved it. And I hated myself for loving it. Elliot. This time it was Hayes. His voice was low, rough, like gravel scraping over something soft. I turned and for half a second our eyes met. Dark, burning, feral. Then he looked away, his jaw tight, and muttered, "You're dismissed. Leave before I forget why I can't have you." The thought hit me so hard I almost staggered. I didn't leave. I stayed exactly where I was, holding his gaze for one reckless, stupid second longer than I should have, and smiled. "Anything else you need, Mr. Ashford?" his wolf snarled in his head. Out loud, Hayes said nothing, but the air between us crackled, electric and suffocating, and I knew that I'd just crossed a line I couldn't uncross. I left the conference room with my heart hammering and my sense spiking, and I swear I could feel all three of them watching me go. He's ours, Declan's thought whispered through the walls. He doesn't know it yet, Carson added, cold and certain. He will, Hayes finished, and the promise in his voice made my knees weak. And I stopped in the hallway, pressed my back against the wall and tried to breathe. This job was supposed to be temporary, safe, boring. Instead, I was trapped in a building with three alphas whose wolves wanted to devour me, and the only thing standing between me and complete disaster was my ability to hear every filthy, desperate thought they tried to hide. I should have run. I should have quit. But my wolf, the part of me I'd buried under sarcasm and survival instincts, whispered something I didn't want to hear. What if they're right? I shoved the thought down so hard it should have cracked ribs. My wolf could go to hell, preferably the same one where reasonable life decisions went to die, because clearly I'd lost all sense of self-preservation the moment I accepted this job. I pushed off the wall, straightened my shirt, and forced my legs to move, one foot in front of the other, professional, unbothered. Definitely not spiraling because three alpha CEOs were mentally undressing me during quarterly reviews. The elevator was 15 feet away. I could make it. I could escape to my desk, bury myself in spreadsheets, and pretend the last 10 minutes didn't happen. I made it 3 steps. Elliot! Carson's voice stopped me cold. I didn't turn around. Couldn't, because turning around meant facing him, and facing him meant looking into those sharp, calculating eyes that missed absolutely nothing. Yes, Mr. Ashford. I kept my voice steady, light, like my heart wasn't trying to break out of my chest. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, the kind that made prey animals freeze and prey omegas do incredibly stupid things like not run. You forgot this. I turned. Carson stood 3 feet away holding my tablet, the one I definitely hadn't forgotten because I'd left it on my desk 20 minutes ago. Liar, beautiful, dangerous liar. That's not mine, I said, tilting my head. Mine's at my desk, but nice try. His mouth curved, barely, the kind of smile that wasn't really a smile but a warning wrapped in amusement. He's calling me out. God, I want to kiss that smart mouth until he forgets how to use it. My breath caught. Carson stepped closer, not touching, not crowding, just close enough that his scent hit me like a freight train made of cedar and something darker, richer, something that made my wolf sit up and pay attention. You're right, he said quietly. It's not yours. I blinked. Then why are you holding it like it's evidence in a murder trial? Because I needed an excuse to follow you. Out loud, he said, because I wanted to talk to you. About? You. The word hung between us, heavy and impossible to ignore. I crossed my arms, leaning back against the wall because standing unsupported suddenly felt like a terrible idea. I'm flattered, but I'm pretty sure there's a corporate policy against CEOs cornering their assistants in hallways. There is. Carson's gaze didn't waver. I wrote it. Then you're breaking your own rule. I am. Why? He was quiet for a long moment, long enough that I could hear my own heartbeat, long enough that his scent wrapped around me like smoke, curling into places it had no business reaching. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer, careful. It was because you're different. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Different, right. That's what every alpha says right before they ruin an omega's life. I'm not trying to ruin you. I'm trying not to keep you. The thought slammed into me so hard I forgot how to breathe. Carson's jaw tightened. His hand flexed at his side like he was physically stopping himself from reaching for me. You don't smell like other omegas, he said. And this time, there was something raw underneath the control. You don't act like them either. Is that a compliment or an insult? It's a problem. For you or for me? Both. I should have walked away, should have laughed it off, made some sarcastic comment, and put distance between us before this conversation went somewhere we couldn't come back from. Instead, I said, what kind of problem? Carson's eyes darkened. His scent spiked, sharp and overwhelming, and suddenly the hallway felt 10 degrees hotter. The kind where I can't stop thinking about you. The kind where my wolf won't shut up. The kind where I'm one bad decision away from pinning you against this wall and finding out if you taste as good as you smell. My knees went weak. Out loud, he just said, the kind I don't know how to solve. Maybe you're not supposed to. The words slipped out before I could stop them, and the second they did, everything shifted. Carson went very, very still. His gaze locked onto mine, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw past the ice, past the strategy and the control. He looked hungry. Elliot! My name on his lips sounded like a warning and a prayer tangled together. Yes, you should go. Why? Because if you don't, I'm going to do something we'll both regret. I smiled, slow, dangerous. The kind of smile I saved for moments when I wanted to watch the world burn. Who says I'd regret it? His control snapped, not visibly. Carson Ashford didn't lose control in ways people could see, but I heard it, felt it. The way his scent flooded the space between us, the way his wolf snarled and clawed at the edges of his mind, the way his thoughts went from careful and calculated to raw and desperate in the span of a single heartbeat. Mine. Ours. God, why does he have to smell like home? He stepped closer. So close I could see the gold flecks in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders, the way his breath hitched when I didn't back down. You don't know what you're doing, he said, voice rough. Maybe I do. Elliot. Carson. His hand moved, slow, deliberate, fingers brushing the edge of my jaw, featherlight and burning all at once. I should have pulled away. I leaned into it instead. And then the elevator dinged. The doors opened and Declan stepped out. His eyes went straight to Carson's hand on my face, to the space between us that was too small, too charged, too everything. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Declan's scent hit me like a second wave, cold and furious and possessive. And I realized with sudden, breathtaking clarity that I wasn't just playing with fire. I was standing between two alphas who just realized they wanted the same thing. He touched him first. Declan's thought was ice over rage. He leaned in. Carson's was defiant, unapologetic. And me? I was screwed. Carson's hand dropped from my face like I'd burned him. I didn't move. Couldn't. My brain was too busy processing the fact that Declan's scent had just gone from controlled frost to Arctic warfare in under 2 seconds. Conference room. Now. Declan's voice was flat. Dead calm. The kind of calm that preceded violence. Carson didn't flinch. We were just talking. That's not what it looked like. Then maybe you should get your eyes checked. The air between them crackled. 2 alphas, 1 hallway. And me, the idiot Omega, who'd apparently decided today was a great day to test the limits of pack dynamics and workplace safety regulations. I cleared my throat. You know, this is fascinating and all, but I have 17 emails to answer and a conference call in 20 minutes. So if you two are done having a territorial pissing contest, I'd love to get back to work. Both of them looked at me. Declan's eyes were cold steel. This doesn't concern you, I laughed, actually laughed. Really? Because I'm pretty sure I'm literally the subject of whatever alpha drama is happening right now. So it kind of does concern me. He's not afraid of us. Carson's thought was half amazed, half something darker. He should be. Declan's was pure ice. Elliot, leave. Declan's tone left no room for argument. Too bad I'd never been good at following orders. No. His eyebrow lifted. Barely. Excuse me? I said no. This is my workplace too, and if you two want to have some weird alpha-dominant showdown, you can do it in your office, not in the hallway where anyone with a visitor's pass can see. I crossed my arms. Well, also for the record, neither of you touched me first. I leaned in. So if you're going to be mad at anyone, be mad at me. Silence, dead, ringing. Silence. Then Carson made a sound, low, rough, almost a growl. God, I want to kiss him. Right here, right now, just to watch Declan lose his mind. I forced myself not to react, not to look at Carson, not to acknowledge the way my pulse kicked up or the way heat pooled low in my stomach. Declan stepped closer, not to Carson, to me. You think this is a game? His voice was quiet, lethal. I think you're both acting like I'm a prize in some competition I never entered. I met his gaze head on, and I think if you keep staring at me like that, someone's going to notice, and then HR is going to have a field day. He's right. Damn it, he's right. Declan's jaw clenched. His scent wrapped around me, cold and sharp and so controlled it physically hurt, like he was holding back a storm with sheer willpower. You don't understand what you're doing, he said, and for the first time, I heard something under the ice, something that sounded almost like fear. Then explain it to me. I can't. Why not? Because if I do, everything changes. My breath caught. Maybe it should. Wrong thing to say. Declan's eyes flashed. His scent spiked, and suddenly the cold wasn't cold anymore. It was burning, freezing and burning at the same time, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but stand there and feel it crash into me. He doesn't know what he's asking for. He doesn't know what we are, what we'll do to keep him. Carson moved one step, just one, positioning himself at my other side, in close enough that his scent mingled with Declan's, close enough that I was surrounded, trapped. Elliot, Carson's voice was softer now, careful. You should go. Stop telling me to leave. We're trying to protect you. From what? Us. The word hung in the air, heavy and impossible. I looked between them. Declan, all ice and control and barely restrained violence. Carson, sharp and calculating, and looking at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. And me, standing between two alphas who wanted me and were terrified of it. I should have been scared, should have run, should have done literally anything other than what I did next. I smiled. You know what's funny? I said, voice light. You both think I'm fragile, breakable, some delicate omega who needs protecting from the big bad alphas. Declan's eyes narrowed. That's not what I think. Then what do you think? That you're dangerous, that you're going to ruin us, that I can't stop wanting you, and it's going to destroy everything. Out loud, he said nothing. Carson did. I think you're playing a game you don't understand, and I think you're underestimating me. I stepped back, putting space between us, because if I didn't move now, I was going to do something stupid. I'm not some helpless omega waiting for alphas to claim me. I can hear your thoughts, all of them. Every desperate, filthy thing you're thinking. Every time your wolves snarl. Every time you look at me and imagine things you're too controlled to say out loud. Both of them went completely still. What? Declan's voice was barely a whisper. Oh no. I just said that out loud. My brain scrambled. Backpedal. Lie. Just do something. I'm observant, I said quickly, too quickly. Body language, micro-expressions. It's not hard to tell when someone's interested. He's lying. Carson's thought cut through my panic like a knife. He knows. Declan's was quieter, sharper. I forced myself to breathe, to hold my ground. I have work to do, so unless you're firing me, I'm leaving. Neither of them moved. Neither of them stopped me. I walked past them, heart hammering, hands shaking, and made it exactly 5 steps before Declan's voice stopped me. Elliot. I didn't turn around. We're not done. Yeah, I said quietly. We are. I walked away before either of them could argue, before I could hear another thought, before I completely fell apart. The elevator doors closed, and I sagged against the wall, pressing my hands over my face. I just admitted I could read their minds. Well, almost admitted. Close enough that they were definitely suspicious now. And the worst part? The absolute worst part? I didn't regret it, because for 3 minutes in that hallway, I'd felt powerful, wanted, seen, and I was already addicted to it. My phone buzzed. A text, unknown number. My office, tonight, 8 p.m. Come alone. No name, no signature, but I knew exactly who it was from. All three of them. I stared at the text until the words blurred. My office, tonight, 8 p.m. Come alone. Come alone, I muttered to the empty elevator. Because that's not ominous at all. The doors opened on the third floor. My floor. The assistant bullpen where I shared space with two other executive assistants who spent most of their time pretending I didn't exist because being associated with the Ashford Triplets' new hire was apparently social suicide. Fine by me. Less small talk meant more time to have existential crises in peace. I walked to my desk, set my phone down, and stared at my computer screen like it held the answers to life, the universe, and why I was stupid enough to almost tell 3 alpha CEOs I could read their minds. Spoiler alert, it didn't. My hands were still shaking. I pressed them flat against the desk, willing them to stop, willing my heart to slow down, willing my brain to come up with literally any plan that didn't involve showing up to that office tonight. I could ignore the text, pretend I never saw it. They couldn't prove I had. Except they absolutely could because they were powerful, stupidly intelligent alphas who probably had IT track my phone activity for fun. I could quit, pack my things, walk out, never look back. Except I needed this job, needed the money, needed the health insurance that covered the medication that kept my ability from giving me migraines that felt like my skull was cracking open. I could go and tell them the truth. I laughed, out loud, at my own desk, like a person who'd fully lost it. Yeah, sure. Walk into a room with 3 territorial alphas and say, hey, remember that car accident 3 months ago? Turns out it gave me telepathy, and I've been listening to your wolves talk about claiming me for weeks. Surprise! That would go great. Absolutely zero chance of disaster. My phone buzzed again. I looked down. And we know you're thinking about running. My blood went cold. Another buzz. Don't. A third. Please. That last one hit differently, softer, almost vulnerable. I picked up my phone, fingers hovering over the keyboard. What was I supposed to say? What could I possibly say that wouldn't make this worse? Elliot. I jumped so hard I nearly knocked my coffee over. Hayes stood 3 feet from my desk, silent, still, like he'd materialized out of shadows and bad decisions. Jesus Christ, I pressed a hand to my chest. Do you practice sneaking up on people, or is it a natural talent? He didn't smile. Hayes never smiled, but something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe, or hunger. With Hayes, it was hard to tell. You didn't answer, he said quietly. Answer what? The text. I leaned back in my chair, forcing myself to look casual, even though my heart was trying to break out of my ribcage. I was busy having a minor panic attack. You know, normal workday stuff. He jokes when he's scared. God, I want to wrap him up and never let him go. My breath caught. Hayes moved closer. Not fast, not aggressive. Just steady, inevitable. Like a storm you could see coming, but couldn't outrun. He stopped at the edge of my desk. Close enough that I had to tilt my head back to look at him. Close enough that his scent wrapped around me. All wood smoke and something wild. Something that made my wolf whimper and my brain scream at me to run. You're not in trouble, he said, and his voice was so low I felt it more than heard it. Could have fooled me. We just want to talk. That's what they always say right before someone ends up in a ditch. His mouth twitched. Almost. We're not going to hurt you. That's also what they say. How do I make him understand we'd burn the world down before we let anything touch him? My chest tightened. Hayes reached out. Slow, giving me time to move, to say no, to do anything. His hand brushed my jaw, thumb tracing my cheekbone so gently it felt like I might break. You're scared, he said. Not a question, a fact. I'm cautious. There's a difference. Of us? Of this. I gestured vaguely between us. Whatever this is. His eyes darkened. What do you think this is? Dangerous. Yeah. His thumb stilled against my skin. Huh, it is. Then why are you touching me? Because I can't stop. The honesty in his voice cracked something open inside me. Something I'd been trying to keep locked down since the moment I'd heard their first thoughts. Hayes. His name came out quieter than I meant it to. Elliot. This is a bad idea. I know. We work together. I know. There are rules, policies, ethical boundaries. I know. He leaned closer, and I could feel the heat of him, the barely controlled violence thrumming under his skin. Tell me to stop. I should have. God, I should have. What if I don't want to? His control snapped. Not visibly, not the way normal people's did, but I heard it, felt it. The way his wolf surged forward, the way his thoughts went from careful to feral in half a heartbeat. Mine. Ours. If he says yes, I'm never letting him go. Hayes! Someone's voice cut through the moment like a blade. Declan. Of course it was Declan. Hayes didn't move, didn't let go, just turned his head slightly, enough to acknowledge his brother without breaking contact with me. We agreed, Declan said coldly. No one talks to him alone. You and Carson already did. That was different. How? Because we didn't touch him. Hayes's hand was still on my face, warm, steady, possessive. Maybe you should have, Hayes said quietly. And there was something dangerous in his voice, something that made the air go thin. I pulled back, had to, before this turned into another alpha standoff with me in the middle. Okay, I said, standing up. New rule. Nobody touches me without asking first. Nobody corners me in hallways. And nobody sends cryptic texts that sound like the opening to a true crime podcast. I looked between them. Clear? He's setting boundaries. Smart. God, why is that attractive? Hayes's thought was almost rueful. He thinks he's in control. He's not. None of us are. Declan's was colder, certain. Out loud, Declan just said, 8 p.m., my office. All three of us will be there. And if I don't come, you will. The confidence in his voice should have pissed me off, should have made me want to prove him wrong. Instead, it made me shiver. Because he was right. I was going to go. I was going to walk into that office tonight and let three alphas I barely knew tell me things I probably didn't want to hear. And the terrifying part? I wanted to. Good. Declan's voice pulled me back from the edge of that thought. And I realized I'd been staring at nothing, lost in my own head while two alphas watched me unravel in real time. Not ideal. I blinked, forcing myself back into my body, back into this moment where I was standing at my desk with Hayes still too close, and Declan looking at me like he could see straight through every defense I'd ever built. Good? I repeated, finding my voice. That's all you've got? Good? What else do you want me to say? I don't know. Maybe an explanation for why you're all acting like I'm some kind of problem you need to solve? Hayes made a sound, low, almost a growl. You're not a problem. Then what am I? Silence, the kind that felt like falling. Then Carson's voice cut through from somewhere behind me. A complication. I turned. He was leaning against the doorframe of the break room, with coffee in hand, looking entirely too composed for someone who'd had his hand on my face 20 minutes ago. A complication, I said flatly. Wow, really making me feel special here, guys. Carson's mouth curved. You are special. That's the complication. Care to elaborate? Not here. His eyes flicked to the other assistants' empty desks, then back to me. Too many ears. Then where? Now works. Declan moved, stepping around my desk with the kind of predatory grace that should have been illegal. Conference room 3. It's soundproofed. My heart kicked. I thought we were meeting at 8. Plans changed. Without asking me? Would you have said no? I opened my mouth, closed it, because he was right, and we both knew it, and I hated that he knew it. Hayes's hand found the small of my back. Gentle, grounding. Shun, come on, I should have argued, should have demanded they give me space, time, literally anything other than whatever this was about to be. Instead, I let Hayes guide me toward the conference room, Declan ahead of us and Carson falling into step behind, and I felt like prey walking into a trap I'd set for myself. The conference room was small, intimate, a glass table, 6 chairs, and walls that promised privacy I wasn't sure I wanted. The door clicked shut behind us. Carson locked it. My pulse spiked. That's not ominous at all. We're not going to hurt you, Declan said, but he didn't sit down. None of them did. They just stood there, surrounding me in a loose triangle that felt way too much like pack behavior. I don't know why you keep saying that. Because it's true. Then why do I feel like I'm about to be interrogated? Because you're smart, Carson set his coffee down, and you know this conversation is overdue. I crossed my arms, leaning back against the table, because standing unsupported felt too vulnerable. Fine, talk. Declan exchanged a look with his brothers, some silent alpha communication I couldn't hear, which was almost refreshing compared to the constant flood of thoughts I'd been drowning in. Then he looked at me, and his expression shifted, softened, just slightly. How long have you been able to hear us? My stomach dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. Elliot, Hayes's voice was quiet. Don't lie. I'm not lying. Yes, you are. Carson moved closer. You said it yourself. You can hear our thoughts. In all of them. Every desperate, filthy thing we're thinking. Oh God, I'd actually said that out loud. I was exaggerating, I said quickly. Making a point. I'm observant, that's all. No. Declan's voice cut through my panic like ice. You're telepathic. The word hung in the air, impossible and true and completely terrifying. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but stand there and feel the walls closing in. How did you? I started, then stopped. Because what was the point? They knew. Somehow, they knew. Your medical records, Carson said, and there was no apology in his voice. The car accident 3 months ago, head trauma, extended hospital stay, Ani and a prescription for medication that's typically used to treat psychic abilities in newly manifested omegas. You looked at my medical records? My voice cracked. That's illegal. So is lying on a job application. I didn't lie. You didn't disclose a psychic ability. That's the same thing. Anger flared, hot and sharp. Maybe because I didn't want to be treated like a freak, or fired, or worse. Worse? Hayes frowned. What's worse? I laughed. Bitter. Broken. You really want to know? Fine. Worse is people thinking you're dangerous, invasive, that you're reading their minds without permission, violating their privacy, stealing their secrets. Worse is alphas deciding you're too much of a risk to keep around. And worse is ending up jobless and blacklisted because someone found out you can hear things you're not supposed to hear. Silence. Heavy, suffocating. Then Hayes said, Is that what happened at your last job? My throat tightened. I don't want to talk about it. Elliot, I said I don't want to talk about it. We're not them. Declan's voice was quieter now. Careful. Whoever hurt you before, we're not them. You don't know that. Yes, I do. How? Because if we wanted to hurt you, we would have done it already. He stepped closer, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw something other than ice in his eyes. Something that looked almost like pain. We're not going to fire you. We're not going to blacklist you. And we're sure as hell not going to let anyone else hurt you. Not when we've already decided he's ours. The thought came from all 3 of them at once, overlapping, harmonizing in a way that made my chest ache. Why? The word came out broken. Why do you care? Carson answered. Because you're our mate. The world tilted. What? You heard me. That's not, you can't just. I couldn't finish the sentence, couldn't process what he'd just said. Hayes moved, closing the distance between us until he was right there, close enough to touch. We've known since the first day you walked into this building. Your scent, the way our wolves reacted, everything. But you're triplets. You can't all have the same mate. That's not how it works. It is for us. Declan's voice was steady, certain. It's always been the 3 of us. When everything, And now it's you too. My knees gave out. Hayes caught me. One hand on my waist, the other on my arm, steadying me like I weighed nothing. Breathe, he murmured. Just breathe. I tried, failed, tried again. This is insane, and I whispered. Yeah, Carson agreed. It is. I don't. Words failed. Everything failed. Declan crouched in front of me, meeting my eyes at level. We know this is a lot. We know you're scared, but we need you to understand something. What? We're not asking you to accept the bond right now. We're not asking you to do anything you're not ready for. His hand found mine, threading our fingers together. We just need you to stop running. I'm not running. You are, and we get it, but you don't have to. Not anymore. Please don't leave us. Please. The thought came from Hayes, raw and desperate. I looked up at him, at the alpha who never smiled, who barely spoke, who was looking at me like I was the only thing holding him together. Then at Carson, sharp and careful and hiding fear behind strategy. Then at Declan, ice and control cracking at the edges. 3 alphas. 3 broken, desperate, terrifying alphas who apparently thought I was their mate. And me, an omega with telepathy and trust issues and absolutely no idea what to do with any of this. I need time, I said finally. How much? I don't know. More than 5 minutes. Declan's thumb brushed over my knuckles. Okay. Okay? We can give you time. Just don't disappear on us. I looked at our joined hands, at the way his touch made my wolf purr even while my brain screamed danger. I won't, I said, Ari, and meant it. For now. The words hung between us, delicate and terrifying, and I waited for one of them to call me out on the qualifier. On the for now, that meant I was still holding escape routes open in the back of my mind. But they didn't. Declan just squeezed my hand once, then let go, and the loss of contact felt like falling. Hayes stepped back, giving me space I didn't want and needed desperately at the same time. Carson turned away, running a hand through his hair, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked uncertain. He's going to leave. He's going to think about this and realize we're too much, too broken, too dangerous, and he's going to leave. The thought came from Carson, raw and unguarded, and it cracked something open in my chest. I can hear you, I said quietly. He froze, turned back to me. That's what? Right now I can hear all 3 of you. I looked between them. You think I'm going to leave? You think I'm going to run the second I'm out of this room and never look back? Aren't you? Hayes' thought was barely a whisper. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe, probably. That would be the smart thing to do. But, Declan's voice was careful, but I'm apparently not very smart when it comes to self-preservation. I laughed and it came out shaky. Because even though every logical part of my brain is screaming at me to get out, to put distance between us before this gets more complicated, there's this other part. I trailed off, not sure how to finish that sentence. Carson finished it for me. The part that wants to stay? Yeah. Why? Hayes asked, and there was something vulnerable in his voice. Something that sounded like hope and fear tangled together. Because you're not what I expected. I met his eyes. Any of you. I don't know what I thought. That you'd be like the others. The alphas who found out what I could do and either tried to use it or got rid of me before I could become a liability. We're not using you, Declan said firmly. I know, that's the problem. How is that a problem? Because it means I can't hate you. Can't write this off as another bad alpha situation and move on. My voice dropped. It means I actually have to deal with the fact that you might be telling the truth. About the mate bond. About wanting me. About all of it. Silence fell. The kind that felt less like absence and more like presence. Like the moment before lightning strikes. Then Carson moved. Slow. Deliberate. He crossed the space between us and stopped just close enough that I could feel the heat of him. Can I tell you something? He asked. You're going to anyway. His mouth twitched. Almost a smile. I've spent my entire life calculating risks, analyzing outcomes, making sure every decision I make is the right one, the safe one, the one that protects us. He paused. And then you walked into our office 3 months ago, and every calculation I've ever made went out the window. Because he smelled like home, like safety, like everything we've been missing. My breath caught. We scare you, Carson continued, and you should be scared. 3 alphas, all wanting the same omega? That's complicated, messy, dangerous in ways neither of us can predict. Not helping your case here. I'm not trying to make a case. I'm trying to be honest. His hand lifted, hovering near my face like he was asking permission. The truth is, you terrify me because for the first time in my life, I want something I can't control, can't predict, can't guarantee. I leaned into his touch before I could stop myself, and his palm settled against my cheek, warm and steady. What if I break all 3 of you? I whispered. What if you don't? What if you save us instead? Hayes's thought wrapped around me like smoke. I looked at him, at the alpha who barely spoke, but felt everything so deeply it bled through every thought. I'm not a savior, I said. I'm just an omega who got a weird power from a car accident and has been lying to his bosses for 3 months. You're more than that. Declan moved closer, and suddenly I was surrounded again. But this time it didn't feel like a trap. It felt like shelter. You're brave, sharp. You don't back down even when you should, and you make us want to be better than we are. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone you barely know. We know enough. Do you? I challenged. Because you know what you see at work. Professional Elliot, the one who color codes reports and makes sarcastic comments and pretends everything is fine. My voice cracked. You don't know the Elliot who has panic attacks in his car after work. The one who takes medication just to keep his ability from splitting his skull open. The one who's so scared of being alone that he's considering a mate bond with 3 alphas he met 3 months ago because at least then he wouldn't have to be scared anymore. The confession hung in the air, raw and bleeding. Hannah, then Hayes said, Good. I blinked. Good? Yeah, because we don't want perfect. We want real. His hand found mine, threading our fingers together. We want the Elliot who has panic attacks and takes medication and is scared. We want all of it. We want you. The thought came from all 3 of them, overlapping, insistent. Tears burned behind my eyes. I blinked them back. You can't just decide that. You don't get to just want me and expect that to be enough. You're right, Declan agreed. Wanting isn't enough, but it's a start. And then what? Then we figure it out, together. What if we can't? Then we fail together too. Something in my chest cracked, crumbled. All the walls I'd built to keep people out, to keep myself safe, started to shake. I'm scared, I admitted, and my voice broke on the words. So are we, Carson said softly. What are you scared of? Losing you before we ever really have you? The honesty in his voice destroyed me. I looked at each of them. At Declan, all ice and control hiding so much fear. At Carson, sharp and calculating, but so desperately uncertain. At Hayes, quiet and intense and looking at me like I was the only thing keeping him anchored. 3 broken alphas who somehow thought I could fix them. And me, the broken omega who wanted to let them try. Okay, I whispered. Declan's eyes widened. Okay? I'll stay. I'll try. I'll give this a chance. I swallowed hard. But if you hurt me, if you use what I can do against me, if you make me regret this, I'm gone. And you won't find me. We won't hurt you. Hayes's thought was fierce, protective. We'll keep you safe. Carson's was a promise. Wait, we'll prove you can trust us. Declan's was steel wrapped in warmth. Okay, I said again, and this time it felt less like surrender and more like stepping off a cliff. Hayes pulled me into his arms, not forceful, just steady, safe. I let him, let myself lean into the warmth, into the scent of wood smoke and wild things, into the way his wolf hummed contentment through every thought. Carson's hand found my back. Declan settled at my waist. 3 alphas, 1 omega. All of us scared and hoping and falling. And for one perfect fragile moment, it felt like maybe we could make this work. Then my phone buzzed. The sound cut through the warmth like a knife. I froze in Hayes's arms, every muscle locking up as dread pooled in my stomach, cold and viscous. It's probably nothing, I said, but my voice shook. He's lying. Carson's thought was immediate. Hayes's arms tightened around me. Not possessive, protective. Check it. I didn't want to. God, I didn't want to. But my hand moved anyway, pulling the phone from my pocket with fingers that trembled. The screen lit up. Unknown number. My blood went cold. Hello, Elliot. Miss me? The world tilted. No. No, 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 no. Another text came through before I could breathe. Working for the Ashford Triplets now? Interesting choice. Do they know what you can do? Or are you still playing pretend? My phone slipped from my hand. Hayes caught it, read the screen. His entire body went rigid. Who is this? His voice was deadly quiet. I couldn't answer, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but stand there and feel my past claw its way back into my present. Declan took the phone from Hayes, read it. His expression went from concern to ice in half a second. Elliot, who is Marcus Steele? The name felt like a punch to the gut. Someone I used to work for, I whispered. Used to? Before the accident, before... I couldn't finish. My throat was closing up, my chest too tight. Carson moved, positioning himself in front of me like a shield. What did he do to you? Nothing. Liar! All three of them thought it at once. Elliot! Declan's voice cut through my panic. Tell us, now! He found out. The words tumbled out broken, jagged. About the telepathy. I don't know how. I was so careful, but he found out and he tried to use me. Made me read his competitors' minds during meetings, extract information, corporate espionage disguised as assistant duties. My hands were shaking, and when I refused, when I threatened to report him, he fired me, made sure I couldn't get another job, blacklisted me across the entire industry. Silence, heavy, suffocating. Then Hayes said, voice lethal, he blacklisted you for refusing to be his weapon. Yes, and now he's found you. Yes. The phone buzzed again. Declan looked at the screen, and something dark and violent crossed his face. He wants to meet, says if you don't show up in 30 minutes, he'll send proof of your ability to every major corporation in Seattle. He looked up at me, including ours. My knees gave out. Hayes caught me again, but this time it felt different, less like safety and more like the last solid thing before the ground disappeared completely. He can't do that, I said, but I knew he could. Marcus Steele was powerful, connected, and vindictive enough to burn my entire life down just to prove a point. He'll ruin me. Not if we stop him first. Carson's voice was cold, calculating. Where does he want to meet? You're not going, Declan said sharply. The hell I'm not. Elliot. Declan moved, gripping my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. You don't have to do this. We can handle Marcus Steele. How? He has evidence. Recordings probably. Medical records he shouldn't have access to, but does anyway, because he has enough money to buy whatever he wants. My voice cracked. You can't stop him. We can try. And if you fail, if he exposes me, what then? I pulled away from him, from all of them, because I couldn't think with their sense clouding my head. I lose everything, again. And this time I take you down with me, because you're my employers. And if it comes out that you knowingly hired an Omega with an undisclosed psychic ability, that's a liability your lawyers won't be able to spin. He's protecting us. Hayes's thought was awed and furious at the same time. He thinks we'd let him face this alone. Carson's was colder. He doesn't trust us. Declan's cut the deepest. It's not about trust, I said, and I hated how my voice broke. It's about reality. Marcus Steele destroyed my life once. I won't let him destroy yours too. So what? Declan's eyes were steel. You're just going to meet him? Let him blackmail you? I don't have a choice. Yes, you do. You have us. For how long? The question exploded out of me, raw and desperate. Until the mate bond becomes inconvenient. Until protecting me costs too much. Until you realize I'm more trouble than I'm worth. The words hung in the air, poisonous and true. You think that's what this is? Hayes's voice was barely above a whisper. You think we'd abandon you? Everyone else has. We're not everyone else. Prove it. The challenge fell between us like a gauntlet. Declan's jaw clenched. His sense spiked. Cold fury barely contained. Fine. We'll prove it. Right now. He pulled out his phone, dialed, and put it on speaker. It rang twice before someone answered. Ashford Industries Legal. This is Jennifer. Jennifer, it's Declan. I need you to draft a full protection contract for an employee. Elliot Thorne. I want immunity clauses, liability shields, and ironclad NDAs covering any and all psychic abilities. I want it bulletproof, and I want it ready in 20 minutes. Silence on the other end. Then carefully, Sir, that's highly irregular. I don't care. Get it done. Yes, sir. He hung up, looked at me. There. Legal protection. Anything Marcus Steele tries to expose will bury in litigation so deep he'll wish he'd never heard your name. I stared at him. You can't just do that. I just did. Declan. My voice broke on his name. This isn't some corporate problem you can fix with lawyers and contracts. This is my life, my ability, my choice. And you're choosing to walk into a trap. I'm choosing to handle my own mess. It's our mess now. Carson stepped forward. The second you agreed to try this, the second you let us in, it became our mess too. He's ours. We protect what's ours. The thought came from all three of them, fierce and uncompromising, and it terrified me because I wanted to believe them, wanted to let them protect me, fight for me, be what Marcus Steele never was. But wanting something and trusting it were two different things. My phone buzzed again. 20 minutes, Elliot. The parking garage on 5th and Madison. Come alone, or I send everything to the Seattle Times. I grabbed the phone from Declan's hand. I have to go. No. Hayes blocked the door, immovable. You're not doing this alone. Move. No. Hayes, I swear to God, if you don't move right now. What? His eyes burned. You'll leave? Run? Prove that you don't trust us after all? The words hit like a slap. That's not fair. None of this is fair, but you don't get to make this decision without us. It's my life, and you're our mate. His voice dropped, rough and desperate. Doesn't that mean anything? It meant everything. That was the problem. I looked at him, at Declan, at Carson. 3 alphas who'd promised to protect me, to prove I could trust them. 3 alphas I'd known for 3 months, and Marcus Steele, the alpha who'd spent 2 years teaching me that promises meant nothing. I'm sorry, I whispered. Then I used my ability. I reached into Hayes's mind, found the thought that controlled his body, and whispered one word. Move. His eyes widened. Shock, betrayal, horror. But his body obeyed. He stepped aside, and I ran. I didn't make it to the elevator before the guilt hit. It slammed into me mid-stride, so violent I almost stumbled. The memory of Hayes's face, the shock, the betrayal, the way his eyes had widened when he realized what I'd done. I'd used my ability on him, forced him to move, violated his mind in the exact way I'd sworn I never would, the exact way Marcus had wanted me to. My stomach twisted. Bile burned the back of my throat, but I kept running, past empty desks, past the reception area, past the concerned look from the security guard who knew something was wrong but didn't stop me. The elevator doors opened. I threw myself inside, jamming the button for the ground floor like pressing it harder would make the doors close faster. They did, eventually. And then I was alone with my reflection in the polished steel doors and the overwhelming urge to throw up. What did you just do? My wolf's voice, horrified and furious. What I had to, I whispered to my reflection. You hurt him. You hurt our mate. He's not our mate, yet we barely know them. Liar! The elevator lurched into motion. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again, and again, and again. I pulled it out with shaking hands. 7 missed calls, all from the same internal number. 3 texts. Declan, Don't do this. Carson. We can fix this. Come back. Hayes. Please. That last one broke something in me. Just one word. No accusations. No anger. Just please. I almost pressed the button to go back up. Almost. Then another text came through from the unknown number. 15 minutes. Don't be late. The elevator doors opened to the lobby. Cold air hit my face. Rain had started, Seattle doing what Seattle did best, and I had no jacket. Didn't matter. Nothing mattered except getting to that parking garage and keeping Marcus from destroying what little I had left. Yeah, even if what I had left was already broken. Because I'd broken it. With my own hands, my own ability. The thing I'd been most afraid of becoming had just happened. I'd used my power to control someone, to force them against their will. I was exactly what Marcus had wanted me to be. The thought made me want to scream. Instead, I walked, fast, head down, rain soaking through my shirt within seconds. 5th and Madison was 6 blocks away. I could make it in 10 minutes if I didn't stop. I didn't stop. My phone kept buzzing. I stopped looking. Couldn't. Because every time I saw their names, I remembered Hayes' face, the way his body had moved against his will, the way I'd reached into his mind and taken his choice away. I'm sorry, I whispered to no one, to the rain, to myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but sorry didn't fix it. Sorry didn't undo what I'd done. The parking garage loomed ahead, dark and empty, and exactly the kind of place where bad things happened in movies. I walked in anyway. Level 3, Marcus's text had said, near the stairwell. I found the stairs, climbed, each step feeling heavier than the last. My wolf was silent now, sulking or grieving, I couldn't tell which. Level 3 was almost empty, a few scattered cars, concrete pillars casting long shadows, the smell of oil and rain, and something else, expensive cologne. I knew that scent. There you are. I turned. Marcus Steele stood 20 feet away, leaning against a black Mercedes, like he owned the world. Tall, handsome in that polished, dangerous way that screamed old money and older threats. His suit probably cost more than my rent. Gary smiled, cold, victorious. Elliot, you're looking well, a little wet, but well. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there and waited for the axe to fall. Speechless? That's new. He pushed off the car, walking toward me with the confidence of a predator who knew his prey couldn't run. I have to say, I was impressed when I heard you'd landed a job with the Ashford Triplets. Very impressed. Moving up in the world. What do you want, Marcus? Same thing I wanted 2 years ago. He stopped 5 feet away, close enough to threaten but not touch. Your cooperation? I'm not helping you. No? He pulled out his phone, tapped something, turned the screen toward me. Not even to save this? It was a recording, audio and video, me sitting in Marcus's old office, reading the mind of a rival CEO who'd come for a meeting. Me telling Marcus exactly what the man was thinking. Me being exactly what Marcus had wanted. Evidence. Damning. Irrefutable. Dated and time-stamped. Where did you get that? My voice was barely above a whisper. I've always been thorough, Elliot. You should know that. He pocketed the phone. Now. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to come back to work for me. Quietly. Part-time is fine. I don't need you full-time. Just for important meetings. Important negotiations. You'll use that pretty little ability of yours to help me close deals. And in exchange, this recording never sees the light of day. And if I refuse, then I send it to everyone. The Ashfords, the Seattle business community, the press. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you are and what you can do. He smiled. You'll never work again. No one will hire you. No one will trust you. You'll be radioactive. My hands clenched into fists. You're blackmailing me. I'm offering you a choice. Work for me or lose everything. That's not a choice, isn't it? He tilted his head. You could always say no. Take your chances. See what happens when the truth comes out. The truth. The thing I'd been running from for 2 years. The thing that had just cost me 3 alphas who might have actually cared. I looked at Marcus, at his smug face, at the way he stood there so certain he'd won. And I realized something. He had won. 2 years ago when he'd fired me. 2 years ago when I'd let fear control me. Let him control me. But he didn't control me anymore. No, I said. His smile faltered. Excuse me? I said no. Send the recording. Do whatever you want. I'm done being afraid of you. Elliot. His voice went cold, dangerous. You're making a mistake. Yeah, I've made a lot of those today. I stepped back. But I'm done making this one. I'm done letting you dictate my life. I'm done hiding. You think the Ashfords will protect you? He laughed, sharp, cruel. They'll drop you the second this becomes a liability. That's what alphas do. They protect their own interests. Maybe, or maybe you're wrong. I pulled out my phone. Let's find out. My hands shook as I typed. To Declan, Carson, Hayes. I'm at the 5th and Madison parking garage. Level 3. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for running. I'm sorry for everything. But I need help. And if the offer still stands, I'm choosing you. All of you. Whatever that means. I hit send. Marcus's eyes narrowed. What did you just do? Something I should have done 2 years ago. I looked at him. I called for backup. For the first time since I'd known him, Marcus Steele looked uncertain. You're bluffing. Am I? The sound of screeching tires echoed through the garage. 3 cars. Black. Expensive. Moving fast. They surrounded us in seconds. Doors opened. Declan, Carson, and Hayes stepped out, and they looked furious. Marcus took one look at the 3 alphas stalking toward us and actually stepped back. Smart man. Declan reached me first. His eyes scanned me head to toe, checking for injuries I didn't have, and when he was satisfied I was physically intact, his gaze locked onto Marcus. Marcus Steele, I presume. His voice was arctic. Marcus recovered his composure, straightening his suit. Declan Ashford. I was hoping we could discuss this civilly. There's nothing civil about blackmail. Carson moved to my left, flanking me. Or threatening our employee. Your employee violated corporate disclosure laws. I'm simply ensuring the truth comes to light. The truth. Hayes' voice was quiet, deadly. He stood on my right, completing the circle of protection around me. You want to talk about truth? Let's talk about how you illegally recorded a psychic omega without consent. That's a federal crime, Marcus. Class A felony. 5 to 10 years. Marcus's face paled slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. The recording you just showed Elliot, the one you're using as blackmail. Carson's smile was sharp. Washington is a 2-party consent state. Recording someone without their knowledge, especially an omega with a protected psychic ability, violates about 17 different privacy laws. We checked. You checked? Marcus's confidence cracked. When? While Elliot was walking here. Declan pulled out his phone. We also filed an emergency restraining order, contacted the Psychic Rights Commission, and had our lawyers draw up a cease and desist. You come within 500 feet of Elliot again, you go to jail. I stared at them. You did all that in 15 minutes? 12, actually, Carson corrected. We're efficient when properly motivated. Marcus's jaw clenched. This isn't over. Yes, Hayes said softly. It is. There was something in his voice, something that made Marcus actually flinch. The kind of alpha dominance that didn't need to be loud to be terrifying. Marcus looked at me one last time. Hey, you'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but at least I'll regret it on my own terms. He left, got in his Mercedes and drove away like the coward he was. Silence fell, heavy, uncomfortable. Then Declan turned to me. You used your ability on Hayes. Not a question, an accusation. I met his eyes. Yes, you forced him to move against his will. Yes, that's a violation of consent, of trust, of everything we talked about. I know, my voice cracked. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I panicked, and I was scared, and I thought I was protecting you, but I just hurt you instead, and I don't know how to fix it. Hayes was silent, hadn't said a word since Marcus left. I looked at him, at the alpha I'd violated. I understand if you can't forgive me, if none of you can. What I did was unforgivable. It was, Hayes agreed quietly. My heart shattered. But you came back. I blinked. What? You could have run, could have disappeared, could have let Marcus blackmail you in silence and never told us. He stepped closer. But you called us. You chose us even after what you did, even knowing we might reject you. That doesn't make it okay. No, it doesn't. His hand found my face, thumb brushing away tears I hadn't realized were falling. But it's a start. Hayes! His name broke on my lips. You hurt me, he said, and the honesty in his voice destroyed me. When you reached into my mind and took my choice away, it hurt. Not physically. Worse. It felt like betrayal. I know. But I also know why you did it. You were trying to protect us. We're trying to handle everything alone because that's what you've always done. His forehead pressed against mine. You don't have to do that anymore. I don't know how to not do that. Then we'll teach you. Carson moved closer. For the record, we're still furious with you. I laughed, wet, broken. Yeah? Yeah, you violated trust, ran into danger, used your ability in exactly the way you swore you wouldn't. He paused. But we also understand that trauma doesn't heal overnight, that learning to trust takes time, that forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. So what does that mean? Declan answered. It means we're going to work through this. Together, it means you're going to therapy, because that ability needs proper guidance and you need proper support. It means we're going to establish boundaries and communication protocols so this never happens again. And it means, Hayes added softly, you're going to let us prove we're not Marcus, that we're not going to abandon you, that when we say you're ours, we mean it. Even after what I did, especially after what you did. Carson's hand found mine. Because you came back. You chose us. You trusted us enough to call for help, even when you were terrified we'd reject you. Tears streamed down my face. I don't deserve you. Probably not, Declan said, but his voice was warm. But you're stuck with us anyway. Is that how mate bonds work? You just get stuck with people? Pretty much. Hayes' mouth curved. Actually curved, almost a smile. Think you can handle that? I looked at them. At three alphas who'd driven through Seattle traffic at illegal speeds to save me, who'd drawn up legal documents and filed restraining orders and protected me even when I'd hurt them, who were offering me forever despite every reason not to. Yeah, I whispered. I think I can handle that. Declan pulled me close. Carson's arms wrapped around us both. Hayes pressed against my back, surrounding me in warmth and safety in three different scents that somehow smelled like home. We're doing this, Declan murmured against my hair. The mate bond. All of us. Okay. It won't be easy. I know. We're going to fight, disagree, probably drive each other insane. Looking forward to it. Carson laughed, actually laughed. God help us all. We've bonded with a smart-ass Omega. You chose me, I pointed out. And that's on you. No regrets, Hayes said quietly. And standing there in a parking garage in the rain with three alphas who somehow wanted me despite everything, I realized I didn't have any either. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't running. I was home.